Good morning, everybody. It's Andrea. Hey, just wanted to touch base. Yesterday we had our first prayer partner class, and grateful for those who could be there, and also wanted to connect by video for those of you who couldn't be there yesterday. We had a great time, and we connected first a little bit about the class and why we are getting together to talk about prayer and why we're getting together in partnerships. Obviously, prayer is a conversation. It's about building a relationship with God. We talk to God to share about what's on our hearts, what's happening in our lives, and God hears us. God hears our prayers. God cares about what we care about, and we express gratitude to God in prayer. We offer our prayer requests. We pray on behalf of others. And we're going to spend this next couple of weeks talking a little bit about prayer and coming to this to build a relationship with God, but also to build a relationship with another Christian, another mentor, someone who can walk alongside of us. A big part of growing in our faith is having opportunities to articulate our faith. So you could spend the next month in listening to me or another teacher teach at you and try to give you as much information as possible. But sometimes the best thing to do is to give you guys a chance to articulate your own thoughts, your own beliefs, and give you an opportunity to struggle with some of the questions that you have or the ponderings or wonderings that you have. And so that's part of what this class is about, is giving you a chance to articulate those in a safe space with another person. Now, the beautiful thing is that our youth have identified a prayer partner. And so for those of you who are prayer partners, you have been specially asked to do this. And so it naturally hopefully creates a safe space of trust because you're choosing the relationship. You're choosing someone that you want to share with. Now, if some of you are listening and you have not chosen a prayer partner and would like to do that, let me know, and we can definitely get that set up and going at any point during this class. And relationships with adults, with people who have gone before us and walked the paths that we are walking, that is important. It's important to be connected with people in the church who have done that so that we can have a faith mentor to walk with us. But we come to this class as equals. So we are both walking along in this experience and experiment, really, into prayer as equals. Neither of us has a handle on it better than the other. We come just to have conversation together. So it's not about coming with answers. It's not about having the adult talk at you. Really the focus is on listening to one another. So wanted to just share a little bit from the PowerPoint that you will find on the website as well. We talked a little bit about that you're invited to this experience to understand prayer through conversations. So a big part of this is creating safety in your relationship to be able to talk with each other about some of the topics we're going to address. When we articulate and put our thoughts into words about God and prayer, we start to shape our beliefs. So we actually formulate our beliefs as we share them, as we talk about them. It helps cement some of those thoughts that we have. And we need people to walk alongside of us as we reflect on our faith. And prayer isn't an individual activity. I mean, it can be between us and God, but it's also a communal activity. So it's something we do in small groups or in partnerships, or it's something we do as a whole church community, which is like what we do on Sunday mornings. Why should we talk about prayer? Why is prayer important? I told the group on Sunday that I really didn't feel like I had a grasp on prayer until I was closer to my 30s. I believed in prayer, I prayed, and thought it was important, but I didn't really internalize and understand it. I didn't have a chance to really struggle through some of my questions until later in life. So we all have, you can fill in the blank, we all have blank about prayer. We all have experiences in prayer. Some of them may be wonderful experiences. Some of them may be really difficult experiences. We all have guilt about prayer. Do I pray enough? Am I praying the right prayers? Does God hear me? And struggling with that. We have longings. We long for God to hear our deepest struggles. We long for God to answer our prayers. And we long to have someone to talk to that knows us and cares about us. We all have questions about prayer. Does God answer prayers? What about that time when it wasn't answered? We have questions about, is someone there? Are they actually listening? And so some of those questions are normal, and it's something that we struggle through, and that can help us shape our beliefs as we walk through that. And we may have doubts about prayer. But we talk about it because we long to be heard and to be known and to be cared for. And as we walk into the experience of prayer in this class, I pray that you will feel that way from your partner, that they will express care and to you regardless of what you share, and that you will also feel God's love and care through this experience. We need to prepare our hearts for prayer. So part of us talking about prayer and your experiences and your questions is to prepare you, is to help you to be ready for prayer experiences. So if you have questions about if prayers are answered, it's going to be a lot harder for you to want to go on a prayer retreat, right? So by talking about this, it actually opens up our thoughts on prayer and allows us to engage in prayer in a deeper way. We'll begin a conversation. Basically, this class is about conversations. And we're going to try to attempt to create a safe space. So one of the first questions that I want you and your prayer partner to talk about, especially if you weren't there on Sunday, is I just want you to share as an opening conversation, what is your name? Where did you get your name? What does it mean? Do you like it? Do you have any nicknames, and what have been those experiences around nicknames? How did you get your nickname, and do you like your nickname? So I want you to just take some time to share with your prayer partner. Now, one of the questions we asked at the end of class is how you want to continue your conversation with your prayer partner throughout the week. You can use all kinds of different ways of communicating, and each week may be different. But the key is to ask each other each week, how should we connect throughout the week this week? So, for example, face-to-face is always best. So doing coffee, or some of you are parents or siblings, and so just sitting down at supper and having a conversation can work. Others of you don't connect on a regular basis throughout the week, so you'll need to find a way. You can if maybe go out for coffee or connect over lunch, or maybe a phone call. One of the things I said was that I invite the youth to share first how you'd like to be communicated with, because you may prefer to have conversations through Snapchat, or through texting, or video chat, or any of those kinds of technology ways of communicating that you may have to teach your prayer partner how to use. And it would be a great equalizing experience for us as adults to learn the technology to be able to communicate with you. Plus, it allows you to build a relationship in a way that when you go to college or throughout the week during the year, you can connect with each other as well. So first question for you guys to connect on is, how do you want to communicate this week? Do you want to get together? Do you want to text or something like that? Then answer the question about your name. The second question I want you to think about is think of a time where you felt safe in a group. I actually invite you on this video to close your eyes. And I want to ask you a couple questions. I want you to imagine in your mind a time when you felt safe sharing in a group. I want you to imagine that space. I want you to think about who was there. What was the group for? When was this? How did you feel before you shared in the group? What did you share? After you shared, how did you feel? I want you to also imagine, look at the faces around you in that experience as you're imagining it in your mind. What were some of the facial expressions, or the body language, or the words that people used to share with you following your willingness to be vulnerable and open up? And I want you to imagine in all those things, what about that made you feel safe? And basically, I just want you to share one or two things with your prayer partner about what made you feel safe. And next week, we'll review the list that we came up with in class this week. The third question I want you to think about is I want you to think about a time when you learned to pray. So again, I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think about 2 experiences where you learned to pray. This may be as a child, maybe bedtime or dinner time. I know for me, I was paid $1 by my grandpa to learn a German prayer for lunch, and we still say it to this day. And I have it a poster hung up on my wall in our dining room with that prayer on it. So it's become very meaningful for us. But think about, or maybe a prayer at school, or maybe an experience yesterday that you had an experience of prayer, or today that you've had an experience that you want to share about. But I want you to think about, where were you? As you're closing your eyes and imagining this, where were you? What was happening around you? What were your desires? What were you hoping for? What were you longing for in that prayer? Who was with you? Were you alone? Were you with your parents? Were you with a group? How did you feel as you were praying? And also think about what did you learn from that experience? What, coming out of that, was there something that stuck with you about that experience? So you can think about that, and I want you to then share very descriptively, share kind of all of the things that you see in your mind when you talk to your prayer partner, and describe the 2 experiences that you have about learning about prayer. And then finally, I want you to, again, readdress how you want to communicate. Now, a little bit different at the class, we did it at the end, but obviously as you and your prayer partner meet, that might be a good opening conversation too, because you'll have to actually meet outside of class this week. So thank you so much for being willing to take a few minutes to listen on by video, and I want you to encourage you to come. We'll meet again here on the 24th following worship, and even if your partner isn't able to make it this week, I encourage you to come to get the questions and kind of get a feel for what's happening, and so that you're up to speed. And if you aren't able to make it, check out the video online. I'll be texting out these videos each week so that you guys can stay on top of it and then connect with your prayer partner. So looking forward to our topic next week, which is, let me find it here in my stash of papers for class. We are going to talk about the freedom to explore prayer. So we're going to look into we're going to have conversations around how we feel free to explore our questions about prayer. So I look forward to seeing you, and why don't we close in prayer? God, I thank you so much for the fact that we can communicate with you. And I thank you that you have placed us in a faith community where we can be surrounded by people that we can have conversations with. I pray that these relationships will be safe spaces. They'll be confidential spaces where we don't share anything outside of these conversations with anybody else, so that we can honor